Hello everybody, my name is Rachel and welcome to a weekly reading wrap-up. I haven't said that in a while. I'm finally back on the weekly schedule now. So today I'm going to talk about the books that I finished in the very first week of September. I read 4 things this past week, but I'm going to defer 2 of them to future videos. The first one is The Stone Weta by Octavia Cade. This is a short science fiction novel about a network of climate scientists who are smuggling and caching climate data to keep it from being destroyed or censored. I loved this and I will be doing a separate review of it. The other one is Killing Gravity by Corey J. White. This is a space opera novella that I read as part of my Space Opera September TBR, and I'll be talking about it at the end of the month when I do my wrap-up for that particular readathon. Spoilers, I didn't super love it. It was a little bit more violent, gory, and cyberpunky than I wanted my space opera to be. But more on that later. Now for the other 2 books, I finally, after years of wanting to, read Fun Home, a family tragicomic by Alison Bechdel. This is a graphic novel memoir about Bechdel's relationship with her father more than anything else. She came out as lesbian when she was 20 years old, I think in 1980, and at that point discovered that her father was gay, and he died a couple of weeks later in a purported suicide. I've always thought that this was definitely about Bechdel wrestling with her father's suicide, but after having read it, I think it's interesting that his death was not actually ruled a suicide. This memoir is a lot about how Bechdel is trying to figure out her relationship with her father, what kind of person he actually was with all the things she learned about him when she was an adult, and why she thinks his death was a suicide, that he intended for it to happen. I personally am not so sure that I'm convinced. I think that she was reading a lot into these little things near the end of his life. On the other hand, I really can't pass judgment on that. I did not know the man. I have to say that this actually felt like it was more narrowly, almost claustrophobically focused on Bechdel's relationship with her father than I thought it was going to be. Even given the way that it had been described and that it's a memoir, I actually thought that it would be more broadly about her life up to maybe like her 30s or 40s or something, but it was really only about her childhood and her university years up to coming out as a lesbian, and very connected to memories of her father during those time periods, and not much more beyond that. So I liked it for what it was. It was a very interesting read, but not quite what I had expected it would be. And then the other book that I read this past week was Ikenga by Nnedi Okorafor. This is her first middle grade fantasy novel. I think some people would classify Akata Witch as middle grade, but I actually think that one is on the younger end of young adult, whereas Ikenga is definitely for younger readers. It is about a 12-year-old boy named Nnedi. His father was the chief of police in Cade in Nigeria, and he was killed in an unsolved murder. A year after his death, Nnedi has sworn that he will basically avenge his father, and he encounters his father's ghost, who gives him an Ikenga, this statue-like thing, which gives Nnedi superhero powers that kind of activate whenever somebody needs help, or whenever he encounters one of the local crime lords doing something bad. So he starts taking out the local criminals one by one with his kind of Shadow Man Hulk abilities. Like, he turns into this like 7-foot tall shadowy man. They just call him the Man. He basically, you know, learns about justice and responsibility and controlling his own actions and thinking things through, as well as finding out what happened to his father. I enjoyed this, though not to the extent that I loved Akata Witch and Akata Warrior. It is definitely a simpler, shorter story than other things I've read by Okorafor, as you might expect because it's middle grade. So yeah, I think it is a very solid children's story, and I would recommend it, but I think I liked Akata Witch more. And that is it. Those are the 4 books that I read this past week. I'll be back very soon with some review videos for you guys. Let me know if you have read any of these or if you want to. Thank you, as always, for watching, and I'll be back soon. And until then, Bye.